meeting today. Just a reminder to everybody that the meeting is being live streamed, so just be wary of that when you're speaking. And once we have that live, we will do our opening karakia. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone can stand up for karakia. Sakataka. Right, so the first item today on the agenda is apologies. We do apologize for early departure from Victoria. Got that noted. We have a mover and a seconder for that. Pauline and Sunita. That motion, all those in favour? That's carried. Item 2, declarations of interest. We have myself, Simon and Victoria showing an interest in item 13 and Emma as well. And then Emma also for item 14. So we have a mover and a seconder. No, we don't need that, sorry. So those ones we'll put separately. Item 3, confirmation of previous minutes. Mover and a seconder for those. Emma and Victoria. Put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried. That takes us to item 4, our public forum. I've got a couple of presenters today. First up, we've got Max. Welcome along, Max. So you're going to report back to us after receiving money from our Youth Development Fund. So if you come on up to the end of the table there, have a seat. And if you just push the button on the one with the person on it, there we go. Cool.
Well, first off, I want to start with big thank you to the board for funding this trip. Wouldn't have been possible without you guys. So, yeah, if we go first slide. That's cool. So my name is Max Hammer. I attend St. Bede's. I'm a 13 student. So some of you might know, I went to Melbourne to represent New Zealand AFL, and it's a really good experience. Really enjoyed my time there, and we were always doing something. We stayed at the Big Four, Mornington Peninsula, and that was located probably an hour out of main Melbourne. And I was rooming people from all over New Zealand, made some good new friends. And our first game was against Hastings. So it's just a representative club, the under-19 side. They were a good strong side. They won the under-19s grade last year. And we ended up getting beaten quite badly. Yeah, 115-21. And they were, I mean, although we did get blown out a bit, the boys took it on the chin. Good learning curves for the boys. So yeah, and then obviously we looked down the line to our next game against Mornington Peninsula, the representative side. You know, that game was a lot closer, the under-17 squad, 21-44. And I mean, it was a lot better of a game, I guess. Got good goals though, so I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, but then we also went around 3 different training facilities of the AFL, so Richmond, St Kilda and Collingwood. And we got introduced to the St Kilda squad, watched them train, got trained with them, so that was also a really good experience. And we went to Marvel Stadium, watched an AFL game. And yeah, so yet again, just want to say a big thank you to the board, and I really appreciate it. And just a few photos from the game. It's just a few sunset photos, I guess. That was the Collingwood facilities, the one top left. That's just the runway, the main railway, the MCG to the right. That's us at the Bulldogs game.
Cool.
Yeah, that's my club team. That's my Christchurch Bulldogs in Christchurch. We're at the Bulldogs game, so we're green jersey now. And then that's the team down the bottom there at the Richmond with an old New Zealand player. And that's just the Christchurch boys in there, bottom photo. So yeah. And I don't know if you guys can access it, but that's the games.
Oh, wow.
2 games on yeah. So yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
Well done.
Cheers.
Victoria.
So what's next for you with your sport, like the new year 13? So we have some life changes coming up.
Yeah.
Finish school. So what's Where are you heading to next? What's your aspiration in the space?
Well, I want to continue playing AFL. I've got my club stuff coming up, so I'm going to play that. And then when I finish school, I'm going to try to get a trade. Not sure on what yet, but get fully qualified and then look to move over to Aussie, make money playing over there, and also being qualified. That's the goal. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Simon, good night.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. One, I'm wondering how strong the following is for AFL here in Christchurch, and is it stable on the up?
Yeah, so we have 4 local club teams, and probably in the team would be 30 to 35 players per team.
Yep.
And there's a youth group, so that's people under 12 that aren't, or 12 to 15 that aren't really ready for the open men's comp yet. And then obviously you got your representative sides, so your New Zealand squads and your under 18s, which I played in, and then you have level 1, level 2, which is under 14, 16. Yeah, under 14s and under 16s. So it's they're still trying to grow, obviously, but at the moment it's going pretty strong. Yeah.
Great. And I had a quick look at the links you sent through. It looks like both your games were night games. Is that normal for you to play at night?
No, it was something new. Yeah, they're both at 6. And I kind of liked it. I guess over there you give yourself a day to do what you want, prep for the game, and then play at night under the lights. It's pretty cool. Got a good after match feed on as well. So.
How long have you been playing for, and did you move from another sport into AFL?
No, so over here we play in the summer, which is good. Start to play rugby in the winter for school, and I just got into it. My brother used to play when he was quite young, and I got into training with the open men's squad when I was 14. I wasn't actually allowed to play the games until I was about 15. So I was about 14 when I got into it.
Great. Well, thank you very much for Next up, we have Dave Gardner, who's going to speak to us about Lewisham Reserve and Rutland Reserve access. Come along, Dave. There we go, 5 minutes.
Hello everyone, you know me, Dave Gardner. I'm here to talk about a desired path in Rutland and Lewisham reserves. What is a desired path? Is an unplanned route or path such as one worn into a crossing service by repeated foot traffic that is used by pedestrians in preference to or in absence of a designated alternative such as a pathway. So here are the 2 locations. The square is in Rutland Reserve and the other shape's in Lewisham Reserve. It shows approximately where the desired path is. On the top left is just a Google Maps screenshot of the location. You can see the 2 parks there, and the bottom right is the city council owned land, which you can see in those 2 parks are connected by the city council owned land, even though they're 2 separate ones. So here you can see the desired path in Rutland Street Reserve. It's quite well worn. It's even there in summer, but it shows up a lot more in winter where it's a little bit boggy down there. So I was wondering if the possibility to get it paved or something like that. And Lewisham Reserve is a little bit harder. It's a long path there. There is no paved area. Just on the other side of the bridge is a stoned area, but it sort of goes nowhere. And you can see it starts at the beginning on the street on the right-hand side there, goes along past the bridge, and then along towards the small poplar trees, and then through that little area there, which then comes out to near Rutland Reserve. I was wondering if maybe that could be cleared or something to open it up slightly, because there is a little ditch on the other side of the trees and a little bit of a wire fence. So maybe to the left of that, there's a wooden fence with that driveway that you can see there. It used to be a long driveway to farmland. Maybe that could be taken down and paved an alternative route to go. That would be quite useful, because a lot of kids would take that to get to Rutland Reserve and to Pepperell Street School. rather than having to go along the roads. And also, there is, yeah, thank you for Park Terrace and everything. That's a great thing. I use that. Though there is one issue I've noticed with the street lights for the cyclists. On the left-hand side, you can see it's a little bit hard to see the green light there, because in the morning when the sun shines directly on it, it shines directly on the lights. So it makes it quite hard to see. And I've seen some other cyclists go through that area when it was red, but it's a bit hard to notice. So I was wondering if the shades for the lights could be lengthened, because they're quite short at the moment. And you can see bottom right corner of the lights there, that's how big they are currently, which I don't think is enough. So when you've got everyone going through again to fix up the tiny little pieces of that could be part of it, that would be great. Also the lights outside of the high school, and that has the same issue there. Just the north facing one, the south facing one is fine. Also, I've noticed this week a couple of issues with cars parking on the dedicated cycleways. The big picture there was on Monday, and the top right picture was this morning. Guys stopped there. I had to go onto the road to go around. It's a 30k road. My bike does 30ks because it's an electric bike, and I had a car honk their horn at me for using that, for parking the car. And the guy only decided to get into his car and move it when I told him I'd report it to the city council, because he was just standing on the footpath with two of his other family members. And just after that, police car came. After he moved it, a police car came. I flagged him down and they had to talk to him. But only when they saw the police car did they say sorry. He said it was none of my business before that. So yeah, not very nice. And the guy in the main picture was just saying, "I'm here to check the bus stop," even though across the road is a 5-minute parking area, which he could have stopped in. Yeah, and the top right one, there is a car park behind the building he was trying to enter, but he could have gone into the car park rather than stopping there. So just, yeah, it's not the first time it's happened as well. I've had a Countdown delivery van stop further north on Colombo Street on the shared path, even though he could have driven into the person's driveway to deliver it. So yeah, and I've taken Snaps and Resolve photos before, but they've come back to me and said we can't do anything unless you call. But calling can take 5-10 minutes. Up to, I've had before half an hour before someone actually arrived to deal with it. So often they're missed. So yeah.
Just one quick question from me. That's Colombo Street, right?
That's Colombo Street, yes. Both of those photos on the right, yeah.
Yeah. Jake, quick question.
Oh yeah, thanks. I'm always really practical, sensible suggestions whenever you come in. I've noticed the checking the bus stop. Did you get the sense it was one of our contractors or?
It didn't have any city council logos on the side of it. I'm not sure.
It's for what? Contracted by the city council.
I'm not sure.
Bus or e-can.
He just said, "I'm checking the bus stop."
A bus stop's
Said it's not car park.
See if it's behaving itself.
I don't know.
Right.
Sounds like
Interesting.
a story.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. We'll
Okay.
look into those suggestions.
Yeah.
See what stuff can come back to us with, but I appreciate you taking the time to
Thank you.
allude to those things.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Next up, we move to deputations. And we have one today from.
That's you.
Come on. Stevie, up to 10 minutes. And over to you. You're going to speak to us about the Paddock Street, close no stopping. Right.
So, this has taken us 10 years. So at long last, excitement in our street. We are, and yeah, we're really happy with it. And thanks, Jake, Sally Ann, and also Mark for your invitation and that, because we're real pleased, and we can tell by my face. I was so excited. The only thing, there is one thing that we'd like to see if you'll compromise with it. One of the things is it's our driveway, and Therese is also a neighbour down, there's 7 down our driveway. And so one of the things is when you come out of our driveway, you need that room to get around, and it looks like there's going to be, there was no flats before. When this was taken, you won't be able to see, but there's 6 flats now sitting right across from the school, which is here at the back of Finney's. Back of Finney's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've put 6 flats in there. And so when you come out, we've tried it just to make sure. So they're starting it's going to come along, it's going to have yellow lines here, and then the yellow line starts here outside the school, and it moves up. Great, except where it stops on the other side of the road. I've just measured it up before I came here. If we could have yellow lines, leave it exactly as it is, except have yellow lines. So I measured it up, and it's a space plus 3 more of the yellow lines. It would be perfect. So it's when we come out of our drive, you're more likely to hit somebody. We've had accidents down that street. It's been so bad, and a lot of abuse down our street, and we're just wondering if that's something that we could ask for 3.
Or 3 more of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
can
Yes, please, hon. So there would be a gap and 3.
Yeah, I was just going to ask to clarify, are you talking about this bit here?
Yes, hon, that's exactly where it is. And see where you've just pointed and just along,
This way?
yeah, see where that blue is, that's where the flats are now.
Those are the ones.
So you just wanted to extend
Yeah.
it, right?
Yes, please.
3 more.
3 more, that's all we need. If you can't get round there properly, you shouldn't be driving.
If we did it the way it's proposed now, you would possibly hit that car. Pretty close.
Maybe these guys could have a chat.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
What we-
Yeah, and anyway, thank you so much. We're so grateful.
Thank you.
And now when they have the gypsy fair and everything, we don't have to worry about it. We can ring up and say, you don't have to wait 5 minutes to watch them. The parking out there, you can now, they can now get screwed. Thank you. Yeah,
Wait a minute there.
I'm a ghoster.
This is
Straight up.
Yeah, good on you.
Great,
You
thank
guys
you
have a-
very much. Anyone got any
Any
questions?
questions?
No, I think you've made it very clear what you're after.
Well, yeah, if I may, I mean,
Yeah.
what would the other residents feel about your idea?
And see, on one, I actually go round the residents and ask, and they're thrilled. They said the same thing. It would be so much easier for them.
Okay, no, that's what I wanted to know. That's great.
Yeah, because we've got 7 down our drive.
Oh, so are you meaning just the residents in your?
No, I've been right round
Okay.
everybody.
Awesome, great.
Okay, well, maybe if, we'll be coming to that report, soon. But maybe if you just want to have a quick chat to Sally Ann, just to make sure you
that you
know
might
exactly
have-
where they.
Yeah.
To go out in the cold.
Yeah.
Oh, library.
Great, thank you very much for coming along. We have no petitions today. We have 1 item of correspondence.
Mhm.
That's the one about the lane off Langdon Road.
Yes, so do we want to bring action from this?
What we'll do is we'll refer it to staff and get their advice. The thing is that those big new businesses in there have all got their address as Langdon Road, so there may be some reluctance to change it, but staff will,
But staff may have another solution.
yeah, so we'll get staff to look into it.
Okay, so you're gonna move that.
Yes, I'm happy to move that.
Whoever seconded it.
Pauline seconded it. Put that motion, all those in favour? Yes. Carried.
And will you just let my correspondent know that that's what we're doing?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Great. Cool.
Item 8 is the Community Parks Urban Forest Planting Plan. And we have staff online, hopefully, for this one. We've got Richard and Toby.
Yep, I'm here.
Cool. Welcome along, you guys. Right, we'll send over to you to maybe speak to it first.
Oh,
There are any?
Thank you very much. I'm going to try and present. Let's see how well this works. Host is disabled sharing screen. I probably should have sent that through to you first.
I'll try it. Right now, Toby.
Try it now?
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Perfect. Yeah, and if I go.
Yeah, but see, as Jonathan, it's fine.
Is that working for everyone?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Kia ora. Thank you everyone for having me. I am here with Katie and Richard to discuss the Christchurch City Council Urban Forest Plan implementation within parks. I've just got a very brief presentation, which will quickly cover the planting plans, consultation feedback, and then process going forward to basically discuss the report that you have about Lancaster Park. So as part of the implementation for the Urban Forest Plan, we put forward 14 initial parks. We developed some plans for them, which went out for consultation. Within the Waipapa Papanui-Innes-Central Community Board area, there were 2 parks. It was Lancaster Park and Redwood Park. For when it came to Redwood Park, we received a lot of feedback, and we've acknowledged that we probably need to go back, or we do need to go back to some of those people, have a discussion around that planting plan for that park, make adjustments before we bring it back to you. So today we're just here to talk about Lancaster Park. So when we were developing the plans, we used the objectives and principles of the Urban Forest Plan. We used recession planes to help manage shading. We've got setbacks on the trees, setback from boundaries, footpaths, sports fields, and other utilities. And we are incorporating a mix of native and exotics. So for you, those of you that aren't familiar with what I meant by the recession plane, there's the diagram here. So we use the recession plane that's usually used for buildings to manage excessive shading. And we applied that to the residential boundary to determine how tall a tree should be at maturity to avoid excessive shading. And when these plans went out, they went out with shade models for the winter solstice at the worst time of year, so the middle of winter, to show the impact of the shading. I'm going to hand over to Katie here and she can talk through the consultation page for this area.
Sorry about that. Just couldn't quite unmute myself. Kia ora koutou, Katie McRae, Head of Comms and Engagement. So as Toby mentioned, we went out with 14 plans. We had 145 submissions. Some of them are general, some of them related specifically to certain plans. And of the general submissions, there was a significant proportion related to species selection, indicating a preference for greater representation of native trees. Specifically related to Lancaster Park, we had 3 submissions. So we heard from Mainland Football, Cashmere Technical and Christchurch, New Zealand. So Mainland Football and Cashmere Technical were both concerned about playing fields, and we'll be working more with them about that. Christchurch and Z were for the most part supportive of the plan, but just wanted to make sure that the trees being selected were going to be consideration had been given to the proposed built form in the area, which could be sort of like 3, 4, 5-story buildings.
So what will happen basically from here? So if the plans are approved, we've got a planting season that runs from April to September. So that's quickly running out. So we're trying to get in there to get some trees planted in September. So once the plans are approved, we can press go on that and we can start getting trees ready. It generally takes about 2 years for us to get a tree ready to grow. So we'll be using what stock's available at the nursery, but it's unlikely we'll be able to plant everything in this first planting season. Some of the things will have to come in over time. So yeah, we'll plant what we can in this season. And then as other trees become available and we have more time, then we'll plant the remaining trees. Also going forward, so we will be developing the list of the next series of parks that we want to develop planting plans for. So we're trying to get around 50 parks per year. So it's quite a big program. And we'll be providing that list of proposed parks to the community boards for feedback. There'll be a prioritisation on low canopy areas to try and pick up the canopy in those areas, but we will also be doing parks across the whole city as well. These will be presented to the community boards where you'll have an opportunity to maybe prioritise certain parks. And then once we've got those list of parks lined up, then we'll start to develop the next lot of planting plans. I've also just realised that there's the 8th of the 10th, 2023 on the bottom, which means I've obviously duplicated an old slide, so please ignore the date. And that's it. If anybody has any questions, yeah, we're ready to move on with the report.
Thanks, Toby and Kate. With questions, Ali.
Just a question about the measures percentage of canopy. I know in some of the information that's around that the canopy is only measured from a certain height. I think, is it 3 foot or something? I can't, or it might not be feet anymore.
3.5 metres is when it starts to register as canopy cover, yes.
Right. So do we know in the planning and strategizing that you're doing what's coming up really quickly in that, that canopy measurement?
So you meaning what will hit that 3.5 metres really quickly?
Yeah, and so just so that you can see when you're planning that you're not over planning in an area that there is a lot of stuff about to hit that over 3.5 metre sort of canopy height.
Yeah, so I suppose we're focusing largely on the parks environment at the moment. Now, within parks area, we've only really been replacement planting. So while we've got some re-veg planting and things which we do track, and we know some of that's coming through, it's not a major contributor to our canopy cover overall. And because we've only really been replacement planting, there's not a huge amount that's coming through. So I suppose in short, we don't know exactly what it is, but we know it's not significant enough to change those low canopy areas into higher canopy areas to change that sway.
Yeah, no, you've answered my question. Thanks.
Victoria.
Thank you, Toby. I'm interested to know about your current nursery capacity. You've indicated you want to be developing 50 plus plans per year. Have we got supplies to support those plans at your nursery?
That's what we'll be building up to. So as we get these plans, then we can start building that capacity at the nursery. There's space there. As we get the demand, the capacity will build to meet that.
Thanks. My next question really is for Katie. Interested in that engagement. I see there's no residential feedback in relation to Lancaster Park. So are you saying that there was only 3 submissions in relation to Lancaster Park?
There was specifically mentioning Lancaster Park. I can't rule out some of the general feedback. Wasn't considering the Lancaster Park one, but it wasn't mentioned specifically. We did only receive 3. So we were obviously a little pressed for time in terms of engagement on this one. And so what we did as one of the more effective ways of making sure that the users of the parks were aware of this consultation, we had site signage up at I think at least 3 locations in that park, and even that did not trigger anything.
Did you do a mail drop on the residential areas on the perimeter of the park?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I ask a question?
No, unfortunately you can't. I just have a quick one relating to Lancaster Park and the,
Separating out deciduous plant.
no, sorry, you can't speak from back there, sorry. The concerns are from Mainland Football and Cashmere Technical about the possibility of roots damaging their playing surfaces. You're confident that that won't be the case?
I think we can probably hand over to Richard for that. As far as, I mean, I understand from a tree perspective the root, how far they spread, and I don't see it as an issue. And Richard is our turf specialist as well. He might be able to add some further insight.
Every sports field has a 5 metre safety boundary around it anyway, so there'd be certainly no planting coming close to the boundary. But I mean, Lancaster Park is a very big park, and you know there's a lot of space around the sports fields at the moment that is just empty. And in fact, there is no there's no underlying drainage system in Lancaster Park. Perhaps that comes as a surprise, but what there is instead is a gravel raft under the entire site. So there are no pipes to block up. The only pipes there are irrigation pipes, which are solid, and there's no chance of roots damaging them. They won't come close to them.
Ellie.
I noticed too that Christchurch NZ talks about how there's going to be increased housing in the area and increased housing density. Is that going to play a part in the consideration of what you're putting in there? And I did hear the gentleman here mention deciduous, and I think that's interesting when it comes to whether we use native trees or introduce trees, and there seems to be a big focus on native, and no native, from what I understand, is deciduous. Does that cause an issue in what else can grow in the area and what the area is going to look like? And my first part of that was about Christchurch NZ, whether that is being considered in the plan going forward.
Yeah, so the concerns from Christchurch NZ was there was going to be built up residential. So the recession plan we used was for residential, and the shade modelling we used, we don't see that as being a big issue. The deciduous versus native, so there'll be a mix, and deciduous trees do have their place. And in instances where there may be concern about future shading because of the height of the trees, even though it would be fairly minor, that might be a place where we'd consider or we'd look at deciduous trees in those types of areas. So it'll be a mixture. And I think the concerns raised by Christchurch NZ, we looked into them and they didn't seem to impact what our planting was. We didn't feel that it was going to impact that local building around it and that built up environment.
Thank you. And I think you're right. I mean, basically Christchurch NZ's raised it as something for you to be aware of, and clearly you are. So yeah, thank you.
Can I just add a bit more?
Is it a question? Yes. Yep.
So Katie mentioned that the development happening around it, in fact, from 2 to I think she said 5 stories. Christchurch NZ talks about 6. So this all still works at 6-story high building?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you're building up, the shade only really impacts the lower buildings anyway. So the difference between a 5 and 6 metres isn't going to really make a huge difference from shading from the trees. It's more, I suppose, those buildings causing shading to other areas.
That's right, the shading onto the park as well as the trees is what I was thinking.
Yeah, so because of the space around those trees, yeah, I don't foresee that being an issue. No.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
No more questions? No. Do we have a mover? Jake? Sunita's going to second it. Do you need debate? Pauline?
Oh, look, I'd just like to congratulate the staff on an excellent report, and I really enjoyed the responses to the consultation and the fact that they're taken into account the roots, as we just talked about, the infrastructure, the power lines, talking with O'Brien, the species and the shading. And I love the way they're using the recession plane type angle of the trees. So I'm just hoping that, I'm assuming that down that western side where you can see the on page, I think it's 33, where the houses on the western side, I think that's where the intensification is probably going to occur, may be impacted in the winter there, but it's really good and clear in the report that staff are aware of all that, and they've indicated that they're willing to make changes and make sure that the trees and the plantings are appropriate. It's a fantastic park. It's going to look so good when all this is done. And I guess the community centre in there and the playground, and it's just a fabulous little area. So I just want to say thanks to staff for a great report. Happy to support.
Anyone else? No? Okay, we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That is carried. Thank you for joining us online, guys.
Great, thank you very much.
Item 9, Pavitt Street, no stopping restrictions. Leanne, come on.
Goes without saying, I'm happy to work when we get there as well.
Okay. Was there anything you wanted to speak to?
Do I need to press the?
Are you right, Tom?
No, I mean, I did just speak to Jude, and she would like us to put in zero lines, which is essentially going to take up one more parking space. The whole street were consulted, and we didn't get any feedback from any of the residents in those flats. So, but yeah, so whether that's
up to us.
yeah, that's up to you basically, I suppose.
Why be weird?
Yeah. So yeah, and other than that, I suppose that the rest of the details.
Just to be clear,
Well, Jack, did you want to change?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm comfortable with the rest of that. Yeah.
so I just want clarification. So the deputation asked for 3 spaces and you're now
3
No,
lines.
3 lines, so
One
it's about 5 meters, so it'd be just, it's a small space, so I mean.
and you're
Yeah.
supportive of that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Is there any more questions for Sally Ann? So we will just need to change the resolution
Is it
to reflect that.
able to do?
yeah, we've got, yes, if you go to the Wi-Fi. So, yeah.
So what we might do is we'll just leave, we might come back to that one.
Yeah, okay.
You can just give us some wording,
Yeah, sure.
resolution. And we'll come back to item 9 and move on to item 10 for now.
Cool.
Which is you as well.
Yeah.
Okay, would it be better to maybe move on to item 11 and then you can. Yeah.
Come back.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll come back to item. So item 11 and street renewal. Welcome. Welcome some expert in team up for this one.
And is that on? Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
So hi, I'm Sam Kelly and I'm a project manager for the Innes Road Street Renewal. Here with me today is Sam Smith, our engagement advisor, Sharon O'Neill, transport program manager, and I'm not sure if he's online yet, but Graham Carlon will be joining, and he's our associate civil engineer from Becca. So the project area for renewal commences at Mersey Street to the shops past Philpotts Road. The project was initiated due to the deterioration of transport assets, and that includes the road carriageway and some sections of the footpath and Clapham Channel. And whilst undertaking the renewal, we also looked at opportunities to provide some safety improvements along the road. In particular, the project looked at upgrading the 2 existing zebra crossings outside St Francis of Assisi and Maryhoe Primary. And the project also includes water main renewal from Mersey Street to Philpotts Road, as that's also reached the end of its useful life. We're done.
That's it.
Oh, there we go. And that just outlines the sections that I've just gone through. So as stated, the focus of the project is primarily renewal. You can see here a few images of examples of the poor conditions of the assets, including the carriageway, footpath and Clapham Channel. Some of the infrastructure dated within the area is fairly old, and some sections of Clapham Channel is aged 66 years. The road's been subject to ongoing pavement and surface issues, and the maintenance team have done some ad hoc repairs, but then primarily failing prematurely due to the underlying condition of the road. There's quite a few bits of old cracked curbing, multiple road surface patches, some distressed footpath areas and on the pavement as well. So whilst undertaking the renewal, we were also looking at opportunities to improve safety and accessibility in the area. So this is particularly for the school children crossing the road. So we're proposing to upgrade the two existing zebra crossings outside St Francis of Assisi and Maryhoe Primary to raise zebra safety platforms. Safety platforms are part of the safe system approach to road safety. The proposed zebra crossings with the raised safety platforms incorporate a priority crossing featuring white striped bars on a platform raised above the road carriageway and red surfacing. The platform and the coloured marking highlights the pedestrians' priority and making it safer to cross. And it helps reinforce slower speeds for vehicles and opportunities to give way. The example at the top is the current zebra crossing at the shops at Philpotts, and then the bottom one is an example on Waipapa Road. In addition, the council recently approved a reduced variable speed limit from 40k to 30k from Mahars to Nancy Avenue, and that will add another level of safety at these two crossings. Sam will provide some more feedback we received on this, but just to note that we did meet with the Maryhoe Primary School and St Francis of Assisi, and they were supportive of the raised crossings and in principle with the overall renewal as well. And we also, when we went door knocking, received some feedback from one of the cafe owners who just from their observation just highlighted the existing safety issues, particularly with that the one.
Eva, can I ask a question about the pedestrian crossing?
Yeah.
In the past, when pedestrian crossings have been mentioned, there's been some misunderstood that they're not encouraged or liked or implemented new. Has that changed? Do you remember that zebra crossings were not something that, because we've mentioned them in the past, and I think people have said, oh no, they're not the thing du jour. There'd been a change in the.
It could have been the treatment that was used, potentially.
So pedestrian crossings as such are still an accepted way to put on a thing to use on the road. Okay.
Yeah. So additional safety improvements around side streets. So traffic calming measures at 5 side road intersections will improve safety for pedestrians, cyclists and vehicles, as it will help reduce crossing distances, reduce vehicle speeds and discourage non-local traffic. So at Thames Street, the proposal includes a central island, and residents have previously raised concerns of speeding and rat running as part of DIM. I also spoke to a resident whose main concern was about slowing down vehicles along that street. You'll see on the screen that Thames Street has quite a wide corridor, therefore the central island would assist with that speed reduction and hopefully reduce rat running. A stop sign would also be included, which would assist with allowing drivers to have better visibility of pedestrians and cyclists when they approach. And at Philpotts Road, we're just looking to replace the existing central island because you'll see from the picture that that's deteriorated as well. So these are the other side streets. So that's Ethne, Kensington Ave and Nancy Ave, both north and south. The proposal includes build outs on either both or one side of the road. You'll have the same benefits as the central island. It will assist with traffic calming, reducing speeds and reducing the crossing distances for pedestrians, cyclists. And stop signs will also be introduced at Ethne, Mersey, Severn and Jameson. And I've just put a picture there of, I'm not sure where that is, but it's an example of one of the curb build outs.
Are they currently on the give way, are they?
I think so, it's a mixture. I think most do give way, yeah. And then some other way safer improvements include installing tactile pavers at pedestrian crossings. We'll also look at some further locations for these as a result of submissions during the detailed design. We're looking to retain the pedestrian refuge islands between Severn and Jameson and the one at Kensington and Philpotts. We'll look at the width of the islands during detailed design as a result of feedback. There was some feedback about the different types of users, such as mobility scooters. And we're also looking to introduce some green paint on the existing cycle lane. That will help enhance the visibility of cyclists. We're looking to remove 20 car parks, and that's to accommodate the side road safety improvements, bus manoeuvrability and sight lines at side roads. I know we are looking to install one, we reinstate one car park. And we're looking to widen some sections of the footpath to 1.8 metres where possible. And again, these locations will be defined during detailed design and also looking at the cross-section layout. We did have a number of suggestions raised in submissions, which were that out of scope, as this is a primarily renewal project and would likely require additional budget for further investigations, such as further cycling infrastructure, pedestrian crossings, and further speed reductions. I'll now hand over to the other Sam, just to go through our engagement.
Kia ora koutou, everyone. Yeah, so we engaged with St Francis for CT and Murray Howe Primary early without a scheme plan, just to make sure that they were okay with the plan in principle, but also to chat about things like parking requirements during construction, bus parking, and ongoing requirements with parking. I think, you know, we made a real attempt to understand their concerns, and we will continue to work with them during construction and onwards. Consultation itself was open for 2 weeks from late June to mid-July. We reached out to stakeholders as part of that, like local residents associations, fire and emergency, Environment Canterbury, New Zealand Police, among a whole list of other stakeholders that we would typically engage on transport projects. Local businesses were all door knocked as part of this consultation and received consultation letters with the scheme plan. Residents in the wider project area got project flyers delivered to their mailbox, and affected residents are those with immediate impacts outside their house, such as parking changes, curb build-outs, pedestrian improvements, were all door knocked as part of this project. The door knocking feedback was largely positive, but there were a number of people not home, obviously, and we're hoping that we've captured those concerned people through consultation. Flyers were available at local businesses like Michael's Espresso, who were very positive around the project. Signs with QR codes were also placed outside both school entrances, and information was shared at the local library, civic offices, and relevant Facebook pages for the local area. We heard from a total of 46 submitters, including from 3 recognised organisations, which were Spokes, Murray Howe Primary, there was a teacher at Murray Howe Primary, and the AA made a submission. I also noticed we have a submission from someone from Blind and Low Vision, but they chose not to call out their organisation. I'll go through the themes. So this might be a little bit hard to read, but I want to unpack them for you. So the first theme was around concerns about road design and safety as a whole. They were requesting things kind of outside of the project scope. So things such as improved road infrastructure on the side streets was a key theme, addressing congestion, and some concerns that the project may increase congestion.
Sorry, what kind of infrastructure were people referring to?
Decreasing speeds further on side streets and the whole rat running. So that kind of came into those requests outside of the project area on what are we going to do about the side streets. They need just as much love, I suppose, as Innes Road. Addressing poor visibility at intersections was a key concern. So when talking about the side streets, they were really talking about, you know, it's at peak times. It's really, really hard to have sight lines at those side streets coming onto Innes Road. Inadequate signage. So there was really call outs there for more signage, which we see on a lot of transport projects lately. Ideas for better pedestrian facilities was 33 submitters, so they were suggesting wider footpaths, improved crossing points, such as the pedestrian refuge islands, and more of them. Suggestions for accommodations for accessibility requirements. So as Sam mentioned, that's really around mobility scooters, postal trucks, those kinds of things getting through the pedestrian refuge islands in the area. as well as just being catered to on the footpaths and the width of the footpaths. Tactile pavers were requested over the whole project, and widening of the refuge islands again. We had a lot of support for the road design improvements, and this is where our submitters really talk about the plan and their endorsement for the plan and the safety concerns. We had quite a lot of support for the raised safety platforms, so 20 submitters calling out specifically in their submission of recognising the benefits of raised zebra crossings, which improve road safety and reduce vehicle speeds. Again, there was some concerns about the visibility and safety of the intersections. They were endorsing the scheme plan and how it would address this, at least in part. But I think there are some call outs there for some further improvements at side streets, which you're welcome to read in the submission tables, as well as in the report. Finally, concerns about cycling safety. So essentially, people felt that this plan didn't do enough to improve dedicated cycling infrastructure in the area. So they were kind of calling out for future projects that would look at how are we dividing the road and how are we mixing cyclists with essentially cars, but especially around St. Francis of Assisi. So they're worried about the bus stop outside and how there's not a great deal of width. So that was the key concern there. I'll go on to sentiment, which is really just calling out that 58.7% of submitters agreed that this project would improve safety, or another 26.1% said it would somewhat, which is quite a large proportion. And the majority of submitters, 71.7%, agreed that raised safety platforms at the existing zebra crossings would improve safety. So there we go. Any questions?
Right, we've got here, we'll go Victoria, Ellie, and Emma.
Thank you. The slide that you had showing the feedback, can we just put it back up? Yeah, the one. So what changes did you make as a result of the feedback that you received?
Sam, would
yeah.
you like to speak to that?
Yeah, so we had spoken to the school and we acknowledged that the parking demand there or around the school is pretty high. So when we were, and that was pre-engagement, so when we were looking at parking, we certainly took that into account. We're obviously removing 20 parks, but that's the sort of around the intersections. So we've kept the P3s, etc., near St. Francis of Assisi. In terms of some of the feedback around wanting further cycle infrastructure, for example, that was kind of a bit more out of scope than, because it's predominantly a road renewal, it's a bit more out of scope than what the project was calling for. But certainly the width of the cycle lane that is there does meet the standards. And then some of the other feedback, for example, around the tactile pavers, I think there was a request for cycle stands or an investigation, so we can certainly look at that in detailed design. And there was also some requests for cycle monitoring, which we can certainly put in as well. But predominantly, as it's a renewal, we kind of asked, have we missed anything in particular in terms of access, etc., that we might not have thought about? So there wasn't much more that we did change as a result of that.
Ellie.
Thank you. Good to see the AA involved. It's good to see some balance with the cycling and the vehicles. Just wondered if that was, did you approach them or did they come to you? How did that?
We approached them.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I believe that they actually called out something specific about raised safety platforms. So something that they said, which I think you should all hear, is that they just said, supportive of this project and the zebra crossing and the raised safety platforms, but just keep in mind for motorcyclists especially, that it can be a concern for icy conditions. And if there's anything that we can do to address the gradient of raised safety platforms.
Okay, good, great, thank you. Congestion's been raised as well.
Just a question around that with any modelling that you've done or haven't done with regards to the traffic on the side streets that you're going to be narrowing, and what that modelling, if you've done it, suggests the tailbacks and congestion may be.
So I think Innes-Road is about 15,000 vehicles a day. So as part of DIMP, some modelling has been done on some of the side streets, but I suppose drivers going slower around or going into the intersections slower, it shouldn't have a huge sort of tailgating on Innes-Road.
No, I mean the backup of vehicles in the side streets. So if you're essentially narrowing the street so that you can't go left and straight ahead or whatever, so you're going to be getting tailbacks in those smaller streets. But again, they may not be worth concerning about ourselves about if the amount of traffic isn't significant. So I'm just asking whether you've done work on what the traffic flow is in those smaller side narrow streets.
Yeah, so there has been some modelling. But for example, I think it was Mersey Street, that was around, well, that was a very low number, but the numbers weren't significantly high that it would impact. And I don't know if the width, the existing width at the moment would allow for 2 cars to safely exit both left and right out anyway.
Okay, just 2 very quick ones. I see Ian McGregor mentions, and he's mentioned before in some of the stuff we've done on this. He's talking about that bus stop again, and he's raised it before. Is there anything you can do to make that bus stop more or safer rather?
Yeah, is that the one at I think
it's the bus stop opposite Shop Squeeze between 2 driveways. One of the driveways has 4 houses, and when they turn in past the bus, they can't see the children.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at that as part of detailed design.
I know he's raised it before, and so the reason I'm bringing it up now is if you are going to be doing quite a significant design down here, it might be a good way for you to.
And that's so it's opposite the school, just before the platform. I think we can certainly look at it. I think the only issue is if we moved it closer to the raised platform, that could present some safety issues.
Other way?
If we move too back again, there might be some safety concerns around coming out of that intersection and having a bus there, but it's something we can look at as part of detailed design.
Right, and my last one is, do you know how many, oh, by the way, great number of submissions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fantastic response for but my question is, do you know how many people live in this area? I'm seeing some of the usual names come up with regards to some of the comments on walking.
I think it was approximately between 250 and 300 houses in the project area that we delivered to.
But these people submitting, do you know where they live? Are they locals? Because I know there are 2 names here of people who don't live in the area.
Yeah, we have their full addresses on the submission table, but if you'd like me to have a look at the split.
Only if it's not going to take a lot of time. It'd be really good to see how many people actually submitting on this project live in this area.
I can get back to you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Emma.
A little bit on Ali's question. The Philpotts Road. Do we know the increase in traffic of that since the opening of the DIMP? And actually, now that I say the question, you cannot get in that way. So my question really doesn't matter because I was worried about the right-hand turn coming out, but I'm just thinking actually, no, it's one way. So they go up Philpotts to get onto QE2, but you can't get back down the other way. So there will be no bill there. So that's not a problem. And my other, there's a big area for pedestrians and young children and things. Do you know the number of students at schools combined?
I can't remember Mary Howe. St Francis did.
At St Francis of Assisi, it was currently 405 students, which is growing and will be capped at 495. But we don't have the notes on
Mary Howe. I don't know if they give us a number, but I can certainly come back to you on that as well.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I mean, the call for extended footpaths. I know I can see that you've done some. Is there any movement for more? Like,
so we're
pushing that as a real safety issue outside the schools.
Yeah, so we can look at that as part of detailed design. There's quite a bit of curb and channel that's needs replacement, and then where we're looking at that, we could potentially look at widening the footpath there, but there's some bits of curb and channel that have recently been upgraded. But we can certainly look at more locations for footpath widths, especially around the schools.
Yeah, I have to say that, if things have been done wrong in the past, just because it's been done wrong recently, doesn't mean it shouldn't be fixed. Yeah. Oh, and my other question is why isn't this project going right up to Innes Road?
This is too weird.
This is
You mean
Oh, sorry. Cranford Street. Cranford Innes Corner. Why isn't it going? I mean,
Yeah, I think the condition, like the condition from Mersey to Cranford is probably in a better condition. The project scope was from Mersey. Safe. And because this was predominantly a renewal and then looking at what are the safety improvements we can make, we kind of looked at it as the what the condition of the road was.
okay, because that corner is very unsafe for pedestrians.
Hold on, come Pauline, then Simon, then you, Victoria.
Oh, the sun blinding. Sun blinding. So I've got one more because we've had a lot of people complain about the fact that one of the safety factors in the area is the blinding from the sun.
Yeah.
And has that been factored into this project?
Yeah, I suppose with sunstroke it's a bit difficult to estimate.
Well, it is, but moving something a little way few the angle of things and things like that, because it continually is brought up as an issue that it is a real safety issue in that on those crossings for the children.
Yeah, I think we'd assume it would design.
Taken in, for example, extending the light things like I just talked about, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because the raised platform would slow people down.
Yeah, that's what we were just saying. So there'll be lower speed in that area during the school time. There'll be the additional red paint. So the paint that's there at the moment is new. So that will assist, and then I suppose it will be we can see what the angles are during.
I just wanted to raise it to make you aware that to ensure that you knew that was an issue.
Yeah, and that was mentioned, I think, in the submission as well. That's something we were aware of.
Excuse me.
So mine was just on the cycle stands. So are they for around the shop area?
We'd need to have a look at that in detail.
Okay, what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I think it would be by the shops.
Yeah.
When we did speak to the school, they have I think it was St Francis of Assisi, they have quite a cool stand for their scooters inside, but they didn't say they had too many people biking. So it'd probably be more so around the shops.
Yeah, because I was encouraging. I think there might be a standalone budget at council for
Yeah, the community travel advisor team looks at providing bike stands for the students themselves, and they've been rolling them out around the city.
Oh, yeah, but they're not just for students. Aren't they for everywhere for all cyclists?
Potentially, I'm not sure. Yeah.
So because I mean there aren't many cycle stands around those shops. So
there's an area in between the two blocks where
the little alleyway
for the school goes.
Yeah, but you people want to put your bikes.
And we are looking at that as part of details.
Thank you.
Simon.
Yeah. Two questions, and apologies if I missed this in the report, but a renewal versus a resurfacing of the road. Just wanted to clarify how much more work do we get done in a renewal? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we definitely go down deeper for a renewal. So we'll definitely there'll be more work involved within that than just the normal resurfacing.
Yeah. Cool, thank you. And just on the safety of the design, and I'm interested in one of the submissions which raised a concern about the narrowing of the side intersections potentially being a conflict issue between a cyclist and a motor vehicle. And just wondering if there was any response to that concern in particular. I mean, as a confident cyclist, I'd take the lane, but the person making that point was perhaps concerned I'd be a little bit squeezed in those areas.
Yeah, I think from memory, they talked about there was not enough room because the side streets were narrower, that there wouldn't be enough room to kind of divert. Obviously, we've got the cycle lane, and especially on those side streets, we'll have the green paint as well, which will be an additional visibility, particularly on side streets. That should give enough or more confidence to people using the lane rather than
the stop control.
And the stop controls as well at the side streets will have better visibility. So hopefully drivers, one, they're going slower, and two, they'll they'll make the choice to stop there before.
Thank you.
I've got a couple of quick ones. Also, you just mentioned the cycle markers. I think it was one, maybe two submitters talked about at those intersections, you've just got the green boxes. Is that a cost saving thing instead of painting the whole?
Yeah, well, yeah. So I suppose for future maintenance as well. But again, that's something we can look at, especially at some of the more busier intersections.
Yeah, I'd say especially maybe the fill pots.
Yes.
Especially it just makes that cycle lane more visible.
Yeah.
For drivers. The other question I had, so some of it's obviously the deep dish channel. Some of that will be staying, or is that all going?
No, that should be going. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Just one of clarification. We've had, when we were doing the deep Flockton and Francis, we had a lot of feedback around King Street. And have you incorporated that feedback into this?
Yeah, so 10th Street was, I spoke to a resident and their main concern was speed, and the Central Island will certainly assist with that. So yeah.
Thank you. Well done.
No more questions? Do we have a mover and a second? Pauline? Emma? Any debate on that? Pauline?
Well, just look, another really good report. Thank you very much. And I think having the street renewal provides the opportunity to address a lot of these safety concerns as well. It is quite a busy road, it's 1,000 vehicles a day, so it's going to be really good to see this happen for the community, and especially we've had problems with the crossings outside those schools for so long. It's going to be really good to have that finally mitigated and hopefully much safer for the kids. So I'll be really supportive of this today. So thank you. Good work.
I'd just like to reiterate what Pauline said. Thanks for your work on this. I'd just like to say the engagement seems to be really thorough. So well done with that. I don't think you could have done too much more to alert the local people to it.
I'm not going to debate. I just wanted to say, could it be noted that Victoria is a board member of the Board of St Francis of Assisi? She has emailed you too, but she wanted that noted.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'm just, as Pauline said, it's really good to see some more safety measures for these pedestrian crossings and also the 10th Street, because we have been hearing about that for a long time as well. So thank you for a great report. Anyone else? No, okay, we'll put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. That's carried. Thank you. Right, so go back to item 9, Cabot Street. The wait. So do we have some wording? $5 meters. 5 meter difference there. So Jake was going to move and Sunita seconded. Any debates? Okay, we'll put that motion. All those in favour? That's carried. And we'll go to item 10, Mulwa Place. Speak to that one at all. Make it as read.
Yeah, it's a similar situation. It's another narrow street. Residents are having access issues. So the details in the report. Anyone's got any questions?
Yeah. Just one from me, 5.9 on page 87. It says, where is it? Sorry.
89, page 89, 5.9.
87, 5.9. Oh God, always that specific paragraph. There is an existing resident-only parking space outside number 6 Mulwa. Staff initially reviewed and we identified the permit for resident-only car parking had lapsed some time ago. Anyway, I can't find a specific paragraph I was looking at, but is that my understanding is that it wasn't the person who originally held the permit that it somehow was able to have it renewed.
So what happened is we found out about the space through the consultation. We went to the parking enforcement team and let them know, and they went ahead and reissued it without coming back to us. So we have asked them in future, if this comes up, if they can not just leap in and reissue them, they need to come back and ask us and get us to approve it first, because from a traffic cop's point of view, it's been lapsed for so long that we probably wouldn't have approved it to be reissued.
Because it's caused quite a
can you imagine?
And the paragraph that starts with the notice prompted them, the affected resident who had previously held the permit. That's not accurate then, is it?
I was they were the ones that held the permit. I wasn't sure if they had changed. He gave the impression that he had it before when I spoke to him. So I think it was, as far as I know, it was the same person. They just hadn't paid for it for ages.
And under that circumstance, you wouldn't normally grant it. The information I heard, but my source is probably less good than your source. Or let's cross the detail. Was that it actually was a separate person, but either which way.
Yeah. So I mean, it got reissued anyway. So there's a real grey area with these permits at the moment. We could do with the parking exemption policy being
dated and clarity.
How long does a permit last for at the moment?
It's just ongoing, I think. As long as they pay for it, I don't think there's any.
They can not pay for it and leave it there. Then it's fine. Cool.
So how many hours are not being paid for?
So have you advised anyone at council that we do need to revisit that?
Constantly, it's the transport policy team that are currently sitting on it. I mean, the suburban parking policy's got guidance in that's publicly available for residents that gives them, a priority order of when they could apply and whether they'd get it. And yet we've got no mechanism in place to actually issue the permits. So, I mean, it's a weekly thing. We're just it does need sorting out.
Something for a new committee.
It would make our life easier as well, because we get so many queries about this. I'm sure you guys hear about it all the time as well. So,
No more questions?
No.
Okay, do we have a mover in the second then? Jake and Sunita. We'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried.
Great, thank you
Thank you very much, Leanne. Next up, we have item 12, road stopping. 39 Hendon Street. Welcome along.
I'm happy to move this.
Ali's moved it. I'm happy to second it. Cool. Are there any questions about this one?
It's very straightforward.
No. Cool. Okay, we'll put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. That's carried.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Nice to see you.
Item 13, strengthening communities funding reports.
It's our pleasure to present the 2024 strengthening communities report. I think you were emailed the worksheet, the spreadsheet. Mark sent that out yesterday for you. Staff are happy to take any questions. And I'd like to introduce, I don't know my Sam Savage, who is our sports and rec advisor, working Mondays and Thursdays till January next year. This is the board.
Welcome along, Sam.
So
first up, obviously we've been through this in the workshop that we had. Were there any further questions or stuff? No takers. I do have. I checked the minutes of the Pendleton Waimari Herwood meeting. I noted that there were a couple where they went under what their staff recommendation was. There was Papanui Youth Development. The recommendation was 8,000 and they did 5,000. Papanui Boxing Club, the recommendation was 1,500 and they went with 1,000. And then there was one that they gave more, that was Marist Albion Netball. The recommendation was 1,500. I was just wondering if you had any idea the reasoning behind that one, especially Papanui Youth Development.
9 lives never got back to us, and the last thing I heard was that it was going to be straight through some supplies.
Okay.
So can you explain what the balance is now? I mean, when we did the workshop, we had
It shouldn't be any different.
No.
we had left over though, didn't we?
I can drag over this column and that'll give you the DRF.
Good see our skills on the fly there, man. Yeah.
It's the DRF that's the left over.
Okay, and we haven't got the carry forwards yet, have we?
That's not including the carry forward.
Unfortunately, not at this stage.
Okay, so look, I would, if I may, I'd like to move an amendment. Sorry, but I did try to get another. Oh, I want to talk about the St. Albans.
Yeah, yes, you can
Okay.
talk about it, yeah. But for the, when we put the
Yes.
motions, yeah.
I did want another 15,000 for the Sarah, the Northern residents who run the community centre, because I felt that was quite a low recommendation. I'm just trying to find it here. So the recommendation is 25. And our board recommendation is 30. I would really like the board support to increase that to 35, another 5. There's not a whole lot of money that's gone in this board actually. And this centre, notice that. And this centre is actually a hub and a key to this community. They are doing council work for us at very low cost, running that centre and doing very well. So I would like to move that amendment. I don't know. Could I have a second?
Can I just ask why I mean, isn't that what our workshop was for? Didn't we discuss this and it was raised at the time and we debated it then?
Yeah, but if Pauline wants to.
So we can bring back something that was not accepted at the last workshop. We can, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Near the bottom.
That would be what separately.
Well, if you've got the support, Pauline, then we can put that one separately when we get to
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
And reason being that there is the bringbacks to come back yet, and there is balance there, and I thought, well, it's a really good, cost for it.
Were there no other questions? No. Okay, so what we'll do, so we're going to put those other ones first.
Yeah, we could do Papanui Baptist Church and
Yeah,
Deora,
so-
which Simon might participate in.
Okay, so we're going to put those two there, Papanui Baptist and Silver Road. I'm happy to move those. Jake's seconding. So we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. And then we will go.
Now would you like to do St Albans?
Yes, so Emma's going to step back from this one. So Pauline has moved it, Sunita has seconded it for 35.
Just update that, please.
Can I just ask, what was the original when it first came to us?
25.
So it's up another 10.
On the staff recommendation.
So that was Pauline and.
Yep. Did you said what you had to say? Yeah. And so we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm against that. I'd like that motion.
That one. Okay, that is carried. Now I'm going to step back from the chair and Simon is going to do the next one.
Okay. So that brings us to the 6 Living Laboratory Trust. We've got the wording of the motion there. Do we have a move for that, Jake?
Second.
Then seconded by Pauline. All those in favour?
Aye.
Any against? That's carried.
Right, and now we move to the remainder of them. Sunita's moved them. I'm happy to second these ones. Any debate? No, we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried. Thank you. Thanks for your work on that. I know it's a good job for you guys. So appreciate it.
Obviously, that would be workshop.
Yes.
What's our balance now? After.
I'll just 89. 80 to 80. Yeah, 89.
Yep. Cool. Right, so now we move to item 14. Now we have a discretionary response fund. We can look at these applications. If you want to speak to any of these.
I'm happy to take questions.
Questions?
Hang on a minute for that.
Item 14, it's the discretionary response fund. So it's the board project.
Can I just have a minute, please, because my top closed down.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So can you remind me what the community liaison project is?
That's for things like the community network meetings to cover hireage and a little bit of high planting days, the sausages for sausage planting day, yeah, things like that.
Principal meetings, stuff like that.
Yeah. And just on this stuck record, where did we get to with the edible gardens? Are we?
Well, when we workshopped it, there was not an appetite for it to carry on, and part of that comes, Emma Pavey has explained to me, part of that is to do with the staff resourcing, the amount of time and resources from staff for such few recipients.
Right, okay. Very disappointing from the board that started it, but we may, I think we got to thinking that we may do it in a different way, so.
Yeah, it's definitely not off the table.
Doing partnership. Type of community gardens, yeah. Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna have to go. I've just had a message that the dog's howling in the bus. I'm really sorry. I have to go. Well, okay. Oh, jeepers. Well, you're not supposed to leave them on Wednesday, so excuse me.
All good, thanks, Kelly. Right, any other questions? No? No other questions? Okay, so we're going to put the Sarah one separately. So we'll do all the others. So that's resolutions 1 to 9. I'm happy to move that. Do we have a seconder? Sunita? I'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried. And item 10, you're obviously going to step back from this one. So
I've got nothing to do with it really, but I mean, a lot of the projects I don't have anything to do with. I just set them going.
What do you do?
I can move. Sunita's moving it, Jake's seconding it. Yeah, I'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried.
This one,
Next one, item
30 people going to their first, no. Do they empty the traps for you or not?
No, they're just providing the traps, showing you how to use them, putting it in, so they're all going into a database so that the numbers can be kept and things like that. So
right, we'll move on to item 15. Another DRF application, Patch and Judy.
Patch and Judy, none of us material girls, a group of people who meet at the library and Senior Centre, and they make quilts for charity. 50 of them get together. They really enjoy that activity. Plus, they see it as really helping with their isolation. Unfortunately for them, the library and council library started to up their charges for them to meet because they had a group that met. So this is one way that my colleague Marie and Rickland and also Rickland and myself would like to support this group to carry on and to have older people or people about my age being able to meet and to do something. Safe. Thank you very much.
Sorry, where are they meeting?
They're meeting at the Upper Rickland Library, Legion Centre.
and do they have machines and things that they keep there, or
No, they just all meet and just do the equivalent.
Was it suggested that they find somewhere else? Because parking must be quite an issue in getting the machines and like getting the stuff in and out.
No, they seem very happy there. Very happy. It's warm. It's central, and they really enjoy it. And 50% of them come from. So we're matching funding from those.
So Sunita, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to know that when you said that charges are going up, do we have any provision? Because some groups are really vulnerable. Like, how can we help? That's what I'm asking.
I think you help by funding them to take care of that. And the sequence dancing that came a couple of months ago, they had the same problem, just being the sequence dancing.
Yeah.
But because a number of them, because they're in our group,
Yeah.
we charge rates that were the community rates. So
Okay.
one-handed council. But the board has magnificently supported both groups. Yeah.
So because they get bigger, they don't see them as community groups, did you just say?
Yeah, there seems to be some strange thing happening sometimes.
Well,
yeah, that's
again,
what I'm
that's
talking
something
about.
that we should be looking at rather than passing it.
That's something we can look at without long-term commission, right?
Yeah. Because there are out there community groups who have got bigger in number, but they're really doing a good job. So if we can support them in terms of this, and just out of curiosity, if not whole city, but our board, all these council spaces, do we know that how often they get really hired and like are we making a lot of money over there or are they empty? If they are empty, then why not we are
just letting them
use it? That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do keep data of the usage and hiring and the times and that, so we can get that to you.
Oh, thank you.
Do we have a mover and a seconder for this one? Simon and Emma, put that motion, all those in favour? That's carried.
Just to add to that, I think that's one of the great things about the community centres that are managed by the community rather than the council, is the ability to give groups leeway to not pay until they get up and running, to support them by not charging them at all. All that sort of thing happens at the community. So it's a real thing to get all the community centres that we can into community-led spaces.
Yeah, that's what council wants to.
Yeah, they do.
Right, item 16.
Max Haynes.
Development Fund.
Secret Development, YDF Development Fund. I'm really happy to bring this to the board. Max has an amazing opportunity to represent New Zealand as a 15-year-old World Cup. And the amount 500 is reflected in the amount of costs for him and his caregivers to get him there. And this is all self-funded. There's no kind of organisational contribution towards this trip. It quite often happens with underage teams, and it's equitable to Taylor Holder. We've got 500 to go for the New Zealand under-19 beach volleyball. Thomas Leopatati, who went to the mixed dodgeball world, and Ava White, who remember she came with an amazing thing. She was granted the same amount because we only 21 to represent, so it's an equitable amount.
Pauline's moved it. Simon seconded it. We'll put that motion. All those in favour? That's carried.
Just a quick question. Is that our cap now?
500 for international, it seems to be the one that the board.
Yes, I wonder if we should revisit at some point, because profit's gone up a lot. Maybe think about. It's a policy anyway. We can always give more.
It's at our discretion.
Yeah.
So if I bought one to you for 700, you might be able to make.
Yeah, you can. If it was your
And staff recommendations are staff recommendations.
I know what you're saying, that you want to set a precedent so that we're not cherry picking and
that's right.
left it permanently for everyone ongoing.
Well, I think we've kind of got there, because if Trevor feels that there is a candidate, a youth who needs a little bit more, he would recommend that. But perhaps not for all of them. So it's a case by case.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. Item 17, the area report.
Awesome. So happy to take any questions. Mark did some amazing work on the community board plan monitoring report. He harassed us. I mean, he
worked along shoulder to shoulder.
Yes. Obviously, the Shirley Community Reserve consultation closes Monday. So far, we've had 162 2 submissions. And on Tuesday, our team did a leader drop for about 1,200 houses within close proximity to the reserve. So yeah. But happy to take any questions from that.
Pauline?
I just got a quick one on the what do you call it, Greenway cycleway. I think it's page 214. I've got there. We put a submission, our submission subcommittee put a submission in there for it. Did anyone ask why they didn't want it to go straight down Stapleton's Road all the way to North Avon rather than going along Dudley and then down, I think it's Nichols and then onto North Avon? Did anyone ask?
We, as a committee, decided to support the residents, business residents group submission, and that's what they wanted.
Just seems to me it's going to be more expensive and more windy to do there. Because Stapleton's Road and North Avon, we've got already partially teed off intersection there. It should be easier to get the cycles across.
I think it was going to use the existing pedestrian refuge on North Avon to get them across. Yeah.
Given we're the decision maker on that, we can raise that.
Yeah. I just anyway. Okay, no, that's all good. Thanks. Happy to move the report.
Seconder? I'll second it then. We'll put the motion, all those in, okay.
I'd just like to say that these reports are absolutely fantastic.
Be like Mark.
Compared to a few years ago, there's so much more in them. And all the links and all the information, all the memos that have gone out, really good resource. So
that is Mark.
Yeah.
Great. It would actually be good to send them out to our wider community. Yeah, each one of them, because they are, I agree, they are good.
Yeah.
We could put a link in the community news notices that we send out every fortnight, monthly.
Yeah,
that's great. I mean, no, lots of that.
Yeah, it's just important to have it in like the form. So if you want to spread it through online platforms, to have it the TIFF or what's the other one? TIFF or J something more JPG
or PDF.
Couldn't really be that.
That's not my area. You're talking of foreign.
I'd just like to thank Mark for all his work on the spreadsheet and the funding to make him the nightmare at the end. But thank you very much, Mark.
Are you cleaning up the awards tonight, Mark?
Like Mark, be social.
Thanks, Diana.
No, I haven't put that one. Right, so we're going to put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
That's carried.
Shut up.
Thank you very much, guys. Finally, we get to item 18, elected members information exchange.
I've just got one. A lady in Bishop Street complaining about a derelict house, and it's flat 7 number 82. And I know that council can only do something if it's a fire hazard or a danger. But if I send you through the details, Mark, could you just send her that information, because I don't think that it is in the fire hazard. But I will go and see her anyway. But thank you.
I noticed a couple have been brought down recently in that area.
Yeah,
have been sitting there for ages. Is it Geraldine Street or one of them? There's been 2 derelict houses right beside each other. They're both down. Just been coming down this week.
It was good to see that one come down on Cannon Street between Madras and Pack, where Mike Greer's going now.
Oh, yeah.
Old Brixton, that was there, where the cows are.
Yes.
Oh, yes, so it is looking good.
That's interesting, that project, and there's water being taken out. And how, I don't know how, I mean, they're building houses with lakes around them.
Right, does anyone else have anything? Yeah.
I actually haven't been passed, but it's been reported to me that the closed bin has been closed up, gone.
The photo of it missing.
So thank you very much for getting that through. And the other thing, I just got one other thing to mention, and it's again, it's a bigger issue, but I put through the query about cars parking on the bits of where there's been road changes, and there's a bit of road right at one of them is Trafalgar St Albans Street intersection. And with the changes that were done there, the cars, there's a place that used to be a vehicle crossing, and now the cars are using it as car parks. And so Mark sent back the response from the staff, who have actually, I mean, and this is sort of the response, I mean, I responded to it, but it was so sarcastic that I had to not actually send it. But yeah, I'm getting better. But they're saying that it is parking. So they were saying that it's a footpath. I mean, so that it's parking and that there's nothing that they're going to do about it. But actually, it's not parking. It is an old, it's footpath, and it's old vehicle crossing. So my questions back to them was, you know, if they've changed it to parking, how, when, you know, how did that happen? And if it's actually still, if it's footpath and it's being used as a car park, then, and it's a very dangerous corner, it should be prioritised. But just getting back, this is parking. And so, of course, then we should go to the school and perhaps ask them, put up some signage, some parking signage, and, you know, let the school know there's extra parking in the area for them. I just think, I thought the response was not good enough. And it's a bigger issue in the area, especially with the continuing development and no car parking and things. So we have very few green spaces, and the green spaces are now being taken up with parking. Cars on the other end of Westminster Street, there's 2 cars parked on council land all the time. I mean, either they're parking and we charge them, or we stop the parking. Yeah, they're parking on the grass, on the other side of it, they're parking on the garden, because the contractors haven't replaced any of the plants in the garden, so it's now being used as a car park as well. It's you know, like, it's just, you see it everywhere. And I think that we should be asking council to look at this problem in densely urban areas and stop it.
Just comment on that. The one that you've been informed, you know, it's legal to park there. Sorry, was that Westminster Street?
Yeah, it's right on the corner. Well, it's not Westminster, it's right on the corner of Trafalgar.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So you come up Trafalgar and it's right there at that intersection. It's so dangerous.
It's St Albans Street.
Yeah. St Albans, I didn't say Courtney, but it's St Albans Courtney. I know.
Oh,
No,
so
it's
close.
St. Albans. I know.
We're nearly finished.
St Albans. St Albans Courtney, St Albans Courtney Trafalgar corner.
I was going to wonder is if, given that the board has delegations around resolving parking, no parking, parking restrictions, whether you might like to seek some advice as to what resolution, you know, what could come to the board to address that, if you're concerned about it being a safety issue or a loss of green space issue.
Yeah.
We make note of that, Mark.
We can't move things in members.
No, but we can
No.
ask staff to
Just as
look into.
Whether you could send me for just any more detail on that, just and get precise as answer as possible from staff, that would be great.
Okay, I'll send you my sarcastic email.
And I do have one thing.
Yeah.
So just wanted to note for the board that at the annual general meeting of LGNZ last month, there was a way forward decided in relation to the Future for Local Government report, which essentially is for LGNZ to work with its members to develop a consensus position of positions to be ready for an incoming government following the election later this year. The working group that is working to develop that position now has membership from community boards. So my colleague, our co-chair of CBEC, is a member of that working group. And we as co-chairs just felt it was important to have a community board voice inside the mayor's chairs and everybody else that's considering that report, the recommendations, and what LGNZ's position is. So I guess watch this space. There's a piece of work that's already kicked off. There's been 2 meetings already, and that will continue. Unclear what that might look like in terms of input from members of elected members more broadly, but I think there is a bit of a plan in place for that as well with that working group. So watch the space. It's a pretty tight timeline, but a pretty important process as well.
Can I say that Mayor Sam Broughton is the new president of LGNZ, and he stated that he wanted to get that work done by October this year, but I think personally that's really too ambitious, and there's actually no real hurry because a new government will take a while to bed in, and I don't think they'll even look at it till next year, even if they look at it at all, because the previous reviews haven't been looked at and someone's dropped them in the bottom drawer, I think. But the panel who did the review have actually put a short list of 5 points that they recommend be looked at in the first instance. So, and one of those is the government funding via returning the GST. That could be quite helpful.
I think that group is now thinking between now and Christmas, given that an incoming government will take at least a few months to, regardless of the makeup of it. It's always a disruptive time.
If they want to do it properly, because at the AGM they moved that LGNZ put through a consensus recommendation, and we amended it to say consensus, because there might not be one universal agreement across the country. I mean, there's parts of that report that I definitely don't agree with. So, so watch the space. I think it's going to take a long time to get all the feedback, especially if we're coming into community boards as well, which we should. So thanks, Simon. It's a good one to bring up.
Sunita.
While we are on LGNZ conference, thank you. I would like to say thank you to both for allowing and arranging the opportunity to attend. One of the things which really interested me was the managing retreat workshop they did. It was not real eye opener. We all know the danger, but what are we doing about it? So, and second thing was that everyone who came out of Christchurch just was awed with our tea pie. So I very proudly took all credit all around going the place and thing, because I know some of the people who I've met in previous conferences. So that was a really well, presented our showcase time for it. Couple of the exhibitors who were there. So one of the, especially one I was talking to, was Tiny Homes. And they said that our council did not took them on board out of 14 councils around the country. So I was a bit surprised that what did the person meant by, but I did thought I'll ask you by some point, but didn't get a chance. But overall, great feedback. It was just great to be there. So thank you, everyone, for supporting that.
But it wasn't just about Te Pai, it was the city.
It is the city,
People
yeah.
Really going on about Christchurch.
Yeah.
How fantastic it is. So we did get a couple of nice days. They were cold but sunny.
Yes.
People were just like, oh my God, Christchurch is incredible.
Indeed. One more thing from Rose Historic Chapel. They have worked really hard with streamlining the process, especially with accounts, and also thank you to staff for supporting them with that. There is apparently a leak, like a mystery leak, and we are not able to figure out who's responsible, when is responsible, that kind of talk I have been hearing. But what my focus, or I would like to point out, is that instead of putting a blame who did not did the good job, whoever the contractors were, rather we look into actually fixing it, because otherwise there's going to be a very significant damage.
Oh no!
And that's just no good at all. So I just like to point that out, please. Thank you.
So would that be something you might bring up in your report? Council? Or is there another channel that's going through?
Yes, please. Yeah.
To maybe get a bit more information about it.
That would be great. Yeah.
It'd be such a shame after all that work.
Yes, and all that volunteer hours they're doing, and really dedicated bunch of volunteers. And last time, I think a couple of meetings ago, I have asked about an Edward because they do want to be a bit more known. So people can use that facility. Can we please put them in our newsletters? That will be great. And last thing is just, I want to get an update about the Empowerment Church. Is there any follow-up happen, Mark?
Yeah, staff have met with them out on site, and we've had some correspondence with them, booking them up about some of the technical answers and pointing them in the right direction for other planning requirement technical.
Yep.
But government staff have also met up with them.
Okay, so they are all connected now.
Yeah.
Okay, and the safety issue with the open stream or creek going through.
The preliminary response from the drainage team about the issues and restrictions there as to what can and can't do in that space.
Okay.
And they'll have options to take it up further through the channel of the duty planner and be talking to consents to all of you.
Okay, cool. As far as they're connected, I'm happy. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for that work.
Staff have been working hard on one. Just one thing from me, I went along a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, to the public meeting that the Northwest Sports and Community Hub ran, inviting local sports clubs and community groups along, and also just others who are involved in that area, to discuss the current situation with green spaces and green facilities now, and sort of, it was really good just sort of workshopping what people would like to see and opportunities going forward in that. So that group is quite a new group, but they'll come along really well. And I think it would be really great if we could get behind them and support the work they are going to be doing in that space. So just keep that in mind.
Where are they based?
They don't have a home, I don't think yet. But yeah, it's a number of sporting groups that have come together with some other groups sort of joining them. They're just kind of working as an umbrella organisation.
Yeah.
So like Westminster Sports was.
Yeah, yeah.
They're called Northwest Hub.
Northwest Sports and Community Hub. And yeah, part of the discussion at the meeting was sort of how big an area they cover. So there was some sort of discussion about, sort of in the river and to south to the new motorway and then across sort of Memorial Way. So it covers 2 broad areas. It's quite a large area and lots of interested parties in there. Anything else from anyone?
We won't be, is it appropriate to be discussing the email from Ruben?
Not here, no.
Not yet.
No. Right, we will finish with our closing karakia.